isn't it? This is an altar with everything we need to welcome and celebrate our loved ones who have passed. This is really the most important part of the celebration Day of the Dead. But it is not the only one. There are also satirical poems known as Calaveras Literarias. Intrigued? Want to know more? Follow me. Las Calaveras Literarias are satirical poems mostly found in Mexico. The first Calaveras Literarias were published in 1849 in the left-wing newspaper El Socialista. These poems were specifically written and published in the days preceding the celebration Day of the Dead. The Calaveras Literarias did not always receive warm welcome, since they were often critical of the government in place or of a specific reform or law. Many were banned or even destroyed in the past. This poem, La Reforma Laboral, criticizes the labor reforms in Mexico. The era of labor reforms started in the second half of the 19th century in Mexico and was very controversial. These reforms resulted in the impoverishment of the field workers and in the enrichment of a few tenant farmers and merchants who gained ownership of most of the land and agricultural fields. This poem insists on the sufferings of the field workers, which are, according to the author, direct consequences of the government's labor reforms. Las Calaveras Literarias can also be about criticizing someone's behavior. In the poem Claudia, the author criticizes Claudia's ill temper and the consequences that she endured once death came for her. Las Calaveras Literarias can also be used to mock public figures or professions. Now that we know a bit about the uses of Calaveras Literarias, let's look at their structure. Originally, these poems had to be written in formal verses, which means that they had to have a consistent rhyme and meter scheme. If we look at this poem, we see that first verse and the third verse rhyme in ia, and the second and the fourth verses rhyme in ada. These poems also had to be written in quatrains, which means each strophe must be composed of 4 verses. Nowadays, you can still write your Calavera Literaria in formal verses, but you can also write your poem in free verses. Here's an example. In this poem, the first strophe is a quatrain, while the second strophe is much longer. One rule that remains, though, is that however the story is being told, the protagonist must encounter